Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SB Reacts, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Gent Jack featuring Sunset Black titled Overthink. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a music video on YouTube and we're going to listen through this track from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. Just letting you know as well that we're going to be providing a song score at the end and overall ranking based on various musical criteria, but let's go, let's do it. What have we got? I dig the production immediately, dude.
Racing, mind is pacing, feeling out of place. Need heavy sedation, medication, meditation pace. Myself as a runner, gonna hope and I ain't gonna overthink myself in a tangent. The gift and the curse, but the shit be the worst one. Life don't understand it. Jack of all trades, but it's been that way since I was born. Thought press pretty cloudy, bit ready, get ready for the oncoming storm. 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, 4 shot, yeah, I'm taking aim. Jack shots, run shots, 10 shots, 10 shots. Bartender got me back in the name. Sign up my name, not recommended, get left suspended. These fools pretend that I ain't who winning. I say deserving and I'm still running. Motherfucker better change that score. I chug a beer before I go to war.
Great transfer there.
We take shots until we collapse, then bounce back and make racks. Jack, if you ain't about your money, then fall back. We take shots until we collapse, then bounce back and make racks.
Must be that vibe that I'm on, so I'ma play it how it go. They seem to have a little and I'ma dare them to explode. Let's go, man, I'm in my mode and I'm in my bag and I'm on your ass like a motherfucker really wanna rumble over nothing and I'm jumping in something on black. Sipping on yak, that's just my calling card. But out here be ballin' hard. I wanted, I get it, no bullshit. I swiped that card, I came that far. Kinda proud I did that. Gent Jack from Central Ave, bust down this blue rich pack. Same face like who did that? Ain't nobody really fuck up with a nigga like Jack. Hit him with a little bit of soft cash shit for the motherfucker of a bigger nigga when I fit the picture, cook him in that pop like this. The motherfucker of a bigger nigga when I fit the picture, cook him in that pop like this.
If you ain't about your money, then fall back. Cause we take shots until we collapse.
I mean, it was phenomenal vocal technique.
Make racks. Jack, if you ain't about your money, then fall back. Cause we take shots until we collapse, then bounce back and make racks.
I mean, it's just so much to take in. It's a short form factor, but I think it works. Video by 40 Ounce Productions. Oh, so got an entire team involved. It's fantastic. It's very professional. I like the overall audio visual experience. And we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Gent Jack featuring Sunset Black titled Overthink. In this section, I'm going to be providing an overall song analysis as well as any applicable constructive critique and then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. And before I go any further, I just want to mention that I gave this song an overall score of 8.1 out of 10, which I feel is an incredibly strong score. I'm really happy with the vast majority of this track. Just a heads up early on that there's no real applicable constructive critique. Anything beyond an 8 starts to become sort of subjective to a certain regard, but like the fundamentals and more I adhere to here, and it's very, very cool. But what do we think this track is about? I'm still kind of working through it. I feel like it isn't, when you think the title Overthink, you kind of question whether it's about someone discussing their own sort of like methodology to their psychology, whether they're sort of trying to figure out whether they are overthinking about something. Maybe these are the thoughts put forward by Gent Jack and everyone else, but the chorus section is talking about how we keep taking shots and we keep working at it and to not underestimate them. And when they kind of run out of, they bounce back, etc. So you get the feeling that they mentioned me the jack of all trades. They've gone through stuff and they've come out of the winner. They're in a position there where basically they are sort of a strong opponent and you don't really want to front to them. But when he says at the start of the track, thoughts are racing, mind is pacing, I wonder whether the song is basically him getting to a point from feeling maybe a bit uncertain about himself to a point where he's sort of like centered himself and he's anchored and he's like, no, this is who I am, this is the value that I represent, everything is totally fine. What I think is really so cool about this is how the vocals work within this, that the chorus parts, I suppose, or assumed from Sunset Black are so kind of supported. They are this kind of wonderful melody in the upper range there with double tracking there that has a very pretty kind of like both cadence and texture and affectation that is a contrast to the main sort of rapped vocal parts. but that just isn't both a nice foil to that style. It just harmonizes really effectively with some of the jazzy leanings of this track alongside all the other instrumental components like the guitars, bass, and drums and stuff like that. So I think we have solid vocal to it with the clean parts, but Gent Jack's rapping parts are both so charismatic and so tight and precise. And I'm not glazing for the sake of it, like legitimately those kind of speed rapping parts and some parts, like the speed, the fluidity, and the clarity of those, the adjustments of rhythms there, the way we get those words out so clearly with the double tracking there, the effect on them makes it sound huge. And it's just so compelling to listen to. You know, I appreciate having the lyrics on the screen here to kind of follow along with it, because I feel like if I didn't, I'd kind of be catching up, I'd be 2 seconds behind him. But that's not because there's too much information. It's more because I want to get up to where he is. And you know, it's kind of interesting. We talk about the topic of the song, it being overthink, when these are him getting these thoughts out and they're kind of rushing into place. He's just able to put it eloquently, and I appreciate that. But you know, it's a very competent performance on the microphone, very comfortable, in their head and chest voice there. Clearly, we have our fundamentals adhered to. We're working well within the musical backing arrangement we have there, and we don't overstay our welcome either. There's a couple of verses and a couple of choruses, and you're done. You know. And just before we move on, actually, just one more thing. I like the fact that the rapping, the rhythm and sort of like phrasing of certain parts, it starts more slowly at the start there, and we have these kind of voice rises as well there, where it becomes more sort of like melodic when it doesn't even necessarily need to in order to be and interesting enough to listen to. He's clearly putting a lot of effort into making kind of an energetic, exciting performance there, and yeah, it transfers. It's communicated well. But structurally, yeah, I mean, this track is 2 minutes 23, made up of a variety of different sort of guitar, bass, drum, occasional saxophone parts, as well as the vocal takes and the various sort of like stylings of those in between. You have this kind of like overdub or kind of like vocal parts at the start there, immediately just catching your attention because it's an unexpected, unusual texture there, with the really elegant guitar motif there with the muted arpeggio there, or with the bends as well, just, and it loops, and it's very satisfying there how it transfers. You have like, it's just because you have that little adjustment at the end, then you have that kind of push and pull, I suppose, there, of the release and then kind of pulling it back. And we have some brass stabs as well on the sides of the stereo field to kind of pull you away from the vocals a little bit, and then you're back into them again, because it's nice to have the stereo field explored. It's kind of a very authoritative tone with that brass stab, just kind of storming the room there, but not too blunt at the same time. The hi-hats, kicks, and snares on the drum kit are nice and punchy. They push through the mix really neatly. They're nice and tight with the compression and production on those as well. And we have a mixture of quarter 8s and 16ths on those, and they have a nice sort of rhythmic unison with some of the guitar parts that we have there, as well as some of the syncopations as well. When the 808 comes in around like that 20-30 second mark there, because of the way the track has been mixed and mastered, there is plenty of space for that 808 to coexist with everything else, and it's just a nice additional bit of delay layer in the lower end of the frequency spectrum to appreciate. We don't take for granted that placement of the 808 there. We take it away some points, and the low end is removed simply to allow things to float and to offer more sort of compositional diversity within the piece. And the saxophone plays notes that work well sort of diatonically within the key signature we have, with like this kind of 3-chord progression that's kind of looped, but it almost sort of like dances or riffs off of some of the vocal melodies or harmonies that we hear in those chorus sections. I don't know how to describe the sort of emotion of the saxophone. It's interesting. I think maybe just as an alternate sort of rhythmic device there that does resolve to the start of the next loop. But it's also, I think, more of a call and response, to be fair, in certain parts as well, to kind of fill in things unconventionally or unexpectedly. And I think actually it's a comment on the ability of the people, responsible for creating and producing this track, that they were able to niche and put all these elements together, both from a production perspective, but also from a sort of like an arrangement one, because it's difficult to get these things to play nice and to make little subtle changes to add that subtle variation, to know when to do that, but to also have the sung vocals or the harmonized parts over top of the kind of, again, the faster kind of rapped kind of parts in the second verse there, just with that being a held note sung by the cleans, and then the 16ths or whatever being sort of like on the mic. And for the main parts, it's nice to have different phrasings there to lead us in there. It's like a familiar face. Yeah, the transfers are very clean with this one. I like that we're more comfortable with having both vocal stakes at the same time as we go through the piece there, especially with that final sort of speed rap section in the second verse there, how the cleaner vocals, they come over top the chorus parts and they help sort of lead us into that final outing there. I think that's sensible. And there's adjustments to the kick patterns as well there that I didn't mention, I think in the chorus part there or the outro part there without vocals, which just allows you to kind of appreciate the instrumental backing and beat behind it there, which is at the same level to the vocal parts. Just the adjustment to add certain parts to sort of fill in the gaps there and add a bit of sort of like extra flavor to it, I suppose, or make it seem like it's going somewhere until it doesn't, just so that we're not relying on the same kick groove the entire time, you know. And I'm glad that it's in line with the other sort of cymbal elements. I don't think you could have gotten away with having the kicks faster or sort of off the cymbal hits. Would have been sounded a bit weird. I think like when we talk about the drinks and the shots and everything we're having as a final note, I think that's kind of where I look at. I listen to that saxophone, it kind of sounds like a lounge jazz saxophone, so you can kind of imagine someone sort of drinking away their sorrows, thinking they'd ever sort of fronted these people in the first place. I think that's it. There's a mixture of these kind of acoustic kind of indie guitar parts with the kind of like trap hip hop drums and the kind of jazzy saxophone there, very sort of pensive in a sampling approach there. There's a lot of different styles here that are incorporated, amalgamated, effectively. Thematically, we have a complicated sort of like 3 chordal progression that is looped and iterated on throughout the piece there in different levels of instrumental parts, and I think that it never, because of the short form factor of the piece, it doesn't overstay its welcome. Part of that is also due to the variety within the vocal parts. It's just that's sort of shown by the fact that when it is just the beat by itself there, you appreciate having the opportunity to think about everything that you've heard from the story perspective in those last parts before it fades out into the ether at the end. But I think the emotional complexity of those extended chords and some of those unconventional chord progressions was tight. It's not just major and minor triads there. Some of the chromatics and sort of bendy bits there add a bit of kind of edge to it with the guitar parts especially, as well as the kind of chromatic, kind of bluesy phrasing of the saxophone parts. And so ultimately there, you know, I think it's a really mature composition. The studio recording, mixing and mastering is fantastic. Again, I like the clarity of the different vocal takes as well as the guitars, the bass, the drums and the saxophones and everything else, and the brass stabs as well in the stereo field. Music surrounds you in the headphones, there's no resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. The music's nice and tight without being overglued, but there is side chaining to those kicks which helps them push through. The vocals haven't been overproduced, they just like they're nice and bright and you can hear the words clearly there, and things are leveled well regardless of whether they are the clean or the rap parts. With double tracking and effects change on them to kind of help them sound bigger, and it's nice and loud with pumping, bus compression, limiting's handled. Again, no applicable constructive critique, it's a fantastic first impression to Gent Jack's. Again, no applicable constructive critique, it's just a fantastic impression to Gent Jack's work, as well as Sunset Black. And from a general listener's perspective, I just simply want to hear more from these guys. I unconditionally just enjoyed my time reviewing their music. It's nice when I am reviewing music to not have to be able to listen to a track and within the first 5 to 10 seconds know that I'm in safe hands. And yeah, I think they've got a future if they keep it up. And so thank you for watching my review of this track from an ex named Gent Jack featuring Sunset Black titled Overthink. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next SB Reacts. Spiderhands out.